Folks, I'd like to take you all on a gender expression odyssey, if you're so inclined. So, Vogue magazine recently published a shoot over here with Harry Styles, and as you can see, he's wearing well, that's a dress. I don't know what this would be, like a coat robe. Well, whatever the case is, it's high fashion. Okay, good stuff. Personally, I think it looks great. In spite of him being British, I'd say this is pretty decent W, you know? But this made some people confused and angry, okay? So if we back up one level, we go all the way back to Candace Owens, with even more likes than the actual photo shoot. There is no society that can survive without strong men. The East knows this. In the West, the steady feminization of our men, at the same time Marxism is being taught to our children, is not a coincidence. It's an outright attack. Bring back manly men. So there's so many things that I want to say. I'm going to have to go through this point by point and trust that most of you can keep up with me, okay? First of all, the nebulous they trying to feminize men here is indistinguishable from the Nazi Jewish question conspiracy theory, because they also believe that the Jews are deliberately trying to demasculinize men in an effort to destabilize Western families, which they can then use to destroy the white race. So, I mean, this is point for point identical. Oh, fix the screen scratch? That's why I had the, here, hold on. Transform. Stretch the screen. There we go. I had it stretched. So that's one. Okay, that's point number one. Okay? Second of all, why the fuck would you ever cite the East as a positive example of masculine? You do realize that in the East, they wore, like, more flowing robes and dresses traditionally than we do. Okay, first of all, K-pop is a thing, okay? And K-pop is as close you can get to androgyny, I think, in, like, modern media. And additionally, the traditional outfits for, like, the Japanese were kimonos. They wore robes, and the robes that men wore were like, for women too, like, they wore very similar. Yeah, of course, I mean, I'm simplifying a little bit here. I'm not a fucking anthropological expert for Japan or anything like that, but trust me, I've been to Japan, you know, okay? They don't have this weird obsession with hypermasculinity over there. Their idols and their pop stars tend to be pretty fucking feminine compared to, like, men over here in the West, you know? And they don't have this cultural fixation with masculinity in the same way that we do. Not to say they don't have it at all, because they do have their own weird gender role shit. But if you look at like a dude in a dress and your first thought is the samurai of the East would have never permitted this femininity, then you're completely lost, my dude. You're completely fucking lost. You have no fucking idea what you're talking about. Anyway, and then implying that Marxism being taught to our children has anything to do with the feminization of men. Do you know what Marx looked like? Do you know what all of the fucking old theorists look like? Like, what do you... It's not like Catboy Central over here. Like, if you look back on, like, Marxists... The funny thing is that the society is most influenced by Marxism. Hold on. Actually had extremely masculine, like, archetypal characteristics that they would reinforce through propaganda. Have you ever seen Soviet propaganda? Have you ever seen Chinese, like, a Maoist era propaganda? The men, what you know, the old Chinese man, Russian man? Yeah, these fucking guys. Like, the Soviet Union and Mao's China were both heavily about promoting typical masculinity, except for this. I mean, they're a gay couple, but that's as masculine as you can get, really. And these societies were literally built off Marxism. Now, I'm not a fan of these societies or anything like that. It's just, I don't know, dude. Candace Owens, like, so the ultimate masculinity can be found in the East with their K-pop and kimonos, and Marxism is responsible for feminizing men today, except the most well-known societies based off Marxist ideas were highly, highly obsessed with the masculine archetype. So I don't know. Oh, I have a theory. What if Candace Owens has no fucking idea what she's talking about. I didn't say it. Maybe. It's entirely possible that that's the direction. You know, that's maybe, possibly. I do like tweets like this, though, because it's like the Jordan Peterson type stuff. These tweets are supposed to appeal to deeply, deeply insecure people. I hope you all know that. These tweets aren't supposed to appeal to, like, the average American. It's supposed to be young men who feel as though something has been taken from them, a sense of entitlement, masculinity, feminine appreciation, whatever. And they see shit like this, and they're supposed to think, yeah, well, they're not going to take me. It's essentially like the TradCon equivalent of being a nice guy. It's usually very deeply sad people who latch on to stuff like this. You know what I mean? Like, let's be real, dude. If you see like pictures of a guy in like a dress and your first response is to bemoan the death of the West, your internal like barometer for life and priorities is completely fucked. You are so lost. It is unbelievable. You're so weak too. Like, people get upset looking at this. I mean, if you don't want to like jerk off to it, that's fine. Nobody's forcing you to jerk off to it, but like to project some kind of civilizational narrative. It's an old narrative too. You've heard it before. It's the strong men create good times create weak men create hard times create strong men cycle, right? The completely ahistorical, like, meme anthropological theory that has no basis or backing whatsoever. You know what I mean? It's like, I swear to God, that cycle or that, like, belief is like the 18-year-old wannabe history major equivalent of live, laugh, love. You know? It's an empty stereotype, and it says more about the person who has it than it does society. It's pretty fucking dumb. Especially since, I mean, again, if we want to go back, like, what do tradcons worship, you know, like in Western society? Isn't it like pre-Enlightenment shit? I mean, how far back do you have to go, right? Do you know what the old... Do you know what the old monarchs dressed like? Like... I mean... Like... here we go, dude. I wish to return. I reject modernity, and I embrace the hyper-masculinity of the old era. Yeah, heels were initially made for men. We can go back as far as we want. I mean... Oh, King Henry the 87th. Yes, the well-known. We can go back as far as we want, dude. Famous, powerful men have been wearing poncy fucking dresses for literally hundreds of years, dude. Like, go back even further. How do you think the Romans dressed? Like, Roman men's clothing. Dude, these motherfuckers were out here, like, fucking... The Roman men wore dresses so they could hike them up their ass to get fucked faster. Like, look at this shit. I guarantee you, if Henry Styles had dressed in any of these, like, traditional fucking Roman or, like, Greek outfits or something... Wait, I'm sorry, really quickly. Okay, here's men. Here's women. Can you explain the difference to me? The terrible fucking... Oh, Harry Styles, sorry. We just looked at Henry VIII, so... Like, can you explain what the difference is to me? Color... The difference is that these ones have facial hair and these ones don't. If you can see, there's more robust breasts in the dude, there's no fucking difference. Look, they all have like underclothing that's tight, and then they have an outer layer they wear over that. They all look fashionable as fuck. Like, dude, they're togas, they're robes, they're basically agender. If you go back far enough, dude, right now, today in America, we basically have the most sexually dimorphic fashion styles, like, ever, okay? Like, right now. If you go to other parts of the world, there is way more variance. If you go to Southeast Asia, if you go to India, even if you go to more traditional clothing, go look at traditional clothing of Europeans. Seriously, here, wait, hold on. Poland, traditional clothing. If you look at the traditional clothing for many European countries, you'll find that they wear very similar clothing. Is this like a Halloween's costume? I can't tell if this is a Halloween costume. They look like pretty fucking similar. I guess the girl's skirt comes down lower. Like, it's all bombastic, colorful, flowy shit. Most traditional clothing is like that. It is very specifically here today in America in the past couple hundred years that our traditional by the way, what's traditional American clothing? I don't even know if that's a thing. But like the men wear the suits and jackets, and then the women wear the dresses. This is a very modern specific aesthetic, you know? Probably the height of sexual dimorphism for clothing in like all of antiquity, all of history. You can probably find it in 1950s America. Seriously, okay? Women don't wear pants, they wear dresses and skirts, and they get shot at the beach if they show ankle, okay? And men wear fucking denims, and they wear suits every single time. Anytime a man leaves the house, they have to wear a suit, and that's it, okay? And that's it. So this idea that, like, Western civilization is on the precipice of destruction? Ah, yeah, here we go. Louis. Yes, he was considered a very, very masculine man back in his day, you know? Look at this fucking guy. Look at this fucking guy. Look. Fucking stocking and platform. Look at this shit. Reject modernity. Return to tradition with your giant fucking flowing... This guy was considered very masculine for his time. Yeah, he has fucking shoe ribbons. He has shoe ribbons. Frankly, he's even adopting a feminine pose. Look at him. His feet are together. They're planted unevenly, and he's showing off his legs and ass. This is a feminine pose. If I As somebody who's read a lot of comics, we tend to draw the way women and men stand very differently. And if I wanted to draw a woman and present them in a feminine way, I would draw her like this, okay? I would draw her with her legs and calves prominently positioned, her feet in an unsteady position, her ass implied. Like, this is precisely what I would do, you know? So again, this narrative that, like, we're destroying Western society with... This is incredibly stupid. But we're not even done talking about this, okay? We're not even done talking about this, okay? By the way, the myth, chat just reminded me, the myth that having hot fucking sexy legs is a feminine thing, don't believe that bullshit, okay? That's fed to you by them in the media, okay? Men's legs can be fucking good as shit, all right? I've got really nice legs. I'm sure a lot of you do too, okay? Don't be ashamed of that shit. Also, knee-length shorts are ugly as shit, okay? If you're wearing shorts, those fuckers need to come halfway down to your thigh. Don't care what your gender is. Don't care what your sex is. That's where it needs to go, okay? The faster we can adopt this norm as a culture, the faster we can fucking move to the space age, okay? Because we are being held back massively, massively by the knee-length shorts, okay? Only knee-length shorts are acceptable are like high-fashion fucking pull-up cuff flowy ones, okay? Or maybe like those really poofy ones, you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? Like the poofy ones where it like cuts off at the knee and then you have like these big poofs. You know what I mean? I'm not a fashion guy. I don't, yeah. But anyway, we're not even close to being done with this bullshit, okay? Because Candace Owens, wrong again, then got responded to by none other than Ben Shapiro. Give it a look. This is perfectly obvious. Anyone who pretends that it is not a referendum on masculinity for men to don floofy dresses treating you as a full-on idiot. Masculinity and femininity exist. Outward indicators of masculinity and femininity exist in nearly every human culture. Boys are taught to be more masculine in virtually every human culture because of the role of men is not always the same as the role of women. Well, that's tautological if I ever heard it. Boys are taught to be more masculine because men are different than women. What does that mean? If you think masculinity is what men are, then naturally, by the nature of the transitive property of masculinity, men would be... Anyway, the left knows this, of course. The point of Styles doing this photo shoot is to feminize masculinity. Otherwise, why would it be headline-worthy for Styles to don a dress? The left knows this. They openly say that gender is both important and socially constructed, which is why they tell you a man can be a woman, e.g., despite no biological underpinning. All right, so there are actually so many internal contradictions in this that it's fucking hilarious. First of all, Ben Shapiro actually got trending for this which is great because anytime a right-wing pundit goes trending, it's because they did something stupid. So it's really like consistently funny. Yes, Karl Marx is trending under K-pop. There's a reason for that, and I'm aware of the reason, but I won't explain it now because we're doing a segment. Thank you. Anyway, there are so many things that I love here. First of all, love the fact that Ben Shapiro pretends to be a libertarian when he clearly is culturally opposed to the presentation. I thought that Ben Shapiro was a libertarian, so he should be in favor of businesses presenting anything that they believe makes them money. Vogue magazine got 75,000 likes in this tweet, so there's obviously some interest in this material. I thought Ben Shapiro would be celebrating their belief and adherence to whatever material best, raises the stock price of their shares, but obviously not. Ben Shapiro has some higher cultural imperative. It's always interesting with these right libertarians, right? There's always some... They like corporations when it comes to, like, being able to feed your children and stuff. They don't want to tax them too high. But whenever it comes to social issues that have nothing to do with libertarianism, they always have some sort of higher cultural obligation which inclines them to be exactly the same as any other fucking conservative. That's interesting, right? You know, libertarian except during times of moral outrage, which is all the time, constantly, always with the moral outrage, you know? This is the point we're at right now. We're dealing with massive accusations of election fraud, COVID-19, and the world's on fire, and Ben Shapiro is over here ranting and raving about the tyranny of men being put in dresses. Well, here's a fact of the matter, Ben, and anybody else. First of all, as a libertarian, you have no right to complain about this. Second of all, even if you did feel some sort of discomfort with it, if you genuinely believe masculinity is so fragile that it can be destroyed by a fucking photo shoot, then your ideas aren't worth defending at all. Oh yeah, thank you, Rational Disconnect. You're always coming in good. Ah yes, the highly masculine East. Oh, look at that. Oh, I can feel my fucking testosterone just flooding my endorphins. Ugh. Look at that, dude. Holy shit, based and testosterone pilled over here. Oh my god. These chads with the pencil-thin mustache. Was it shaved that way, or I don't know. I don't care. Very good. Very, very, very good. I love it. But anyway, you can go back further. Ben Shapiro actually talked about this for like 20 fucking minutes on his show.
Let's assume for a second the honesty of some folks on the left who at least acknowledge that femininity and masculinity exist. They also have indicators, outward indicators. Dress has been, for virtually all time and in virtually all cultures, an outward indicator, which is why the Bible explicitly says that it is against cross-dressing.
Oh, wait, hold on. This is really funny. Is this a picture of Candace Owens wearing what is typically considered to be men's clothing in a sexually provocative manner without any shirt underneath, such as to expose a portion of her breast? Interesting. As an aficionado of religious traditionalism, just like Candace Owens, I personally think that this sexual proclivity, it's very unbecoming to a defender of the West. I don't know. It's very weird wearing men's clothing, not wearing anything underneath it. Jesus, I can feel my family values being destroyed with every second that I look at this. It reminds me of how Lauren Southern would make videos and how the true role of all women is to like focus on your family and have a kid, but she was doing this while being like a single YouTube star, you know what I mean? I think Lauren got married though, right? So I guess she eventually self-corrected on that, but there are other people who do basically the same thing.
For example. Okay, but in virtually every culture, men and women dress differently. This does not mean that all men dress the same and all women in all cultures dress the same. It means that in every culture, there is a distinction between how men dress and how women dress. The stupidest form of the argument that I saw yesterday online was, well, in Scotland, they wear kilts. That means that a man in America wearing a skirt, a floofy skirt, is the same as a man in Scotland wearing a kilt.
Well, kilts are basically just skirts, so yeah, I mean, they're like a style of skirt, but yeah.
No, because they also distinguish between how men wear clothes and women wear clothes in Scotland, too. It's just that men wear different clothes than men in America.
So wait, what if a Scottish guy came to America wearing a kilt and he went out with an American woman who wore pants? Wait, Is he saying that there's no there can't be any cross contamination here? Wait, women wear skirts in Scotland too. Wait, what is he talking about? Does he think women can't wear pants? He probably does.
It's the most idiotic thing. People are like, well, yeah, back in Roman times, men wore togas. You understand? Those were basically just dresses. Yes.
Oh, shit. He's calling me out.
And women wore a different form of clothing. At the time, women and men were distinguishable by dress. They have always been distinguishable by dress in virtually every human culture.
Again, no. With togas, they're really pretty sex neutral. I mean, there are types of togas, and I imagine that at times certain types were more fashionable than other types, but no. So the argument that he's making right now is that there is some inviolate existential necessity for men and for women to be identifiable by differences in clothing. Except both men and women today wear jeans and t-shirts. Right now. Right now we do that. Women tend to wear different types of jeans. No, women tend to wear tighter jeans, which are fashionable with a lot of guys now too. Not just crazy skinny jeans or whatever. When I wear jeans, I wear that flex comfort shit. You think I'm out there in pure fucking denim? Like some sort of fucking degenerate ready to die in a coal mine? You fucking kidding me? If I go out and I'm wearing jeans, you think I'm going to fucking wear some 150-year-old tech? Fuck no. I'm wearing hyper-synthesized fibers that accommodate every fucking bulge of my dong, okay? I'm not wearing some goddamn fucking original jeans. I'm wearing the same shit women wear. Are my shirts bigger? I mean, I don't know. I'm probably bigger than a lot of girls. But, like, these are the same clothes. Right now, these are the same clothes. So where is this coming from? He actually seems like offended at the idea of men and women being able to wear the same clothing. And mind you, even if Ben was correct in asserting that in every culture throughout history, men and women have worn distinct clothing, which is not the case, it becomes less the case the further back you go in time, especially with young people, because, yeah, young people all used to be dressed like girls. I've talked about that on stream before, but it's true. You know, originally, the term boy was only applied to young men after the age of like 6 or 7 or 8, and lady was applied to young women under the age of 6, 7, or 8. But babies, or like little humans between like 0 and 6, they were all called girls, and they were all put in dresses. It was only after there started to be some distinctive characteristics between boys and girls that they separated. Yeah, and girl became a term for feminine young people, and then boy got shifted down to refer to more masculine young people. But that's true. That's completely true. This myth of like this incredibly rigid clothing, gender segmented binary, it's just not true. But people like Ben Shapiro will try to tell you it's true, not because they give a fuck about history. Ben Shapiro knows nothing about history. He doesn't give a single shit about it. He cares about promoting conservative traditional values, which in practice means getting really, really, really angry when men wear dresses.
And noting that men wore floofier stuff in the 16th century in Britain does not change the fact that women wore completely different clothing in the 16th century in Britain. Right? This is a category error, you morons.
What point does he think he's trying to make right now?
To suggest that because men wore something like a kilt in Scotland, that if you transferred over to America would look more feminine. Therefore, a man wearing a skirt in America in 2020 is just the same in the male-female paradigm as a man wearing a kilt in Scotland in 1590 is insane and idiotic and ridiculous on its face, and we all know that.
So if that's the case, does Ben Shapiro have any issue with men wearing dresses and women wearing jeans? Does Ben Shapiro have an issue with that? Because it seems he only cares about them being some sort of distinction between men's clothing and women's clothing. If his issue isn't the fact that men's clothing used to be what we would consider to be quite feminine, then what is he even arguing about? Notice how angry he is, by the way. He doesn't get angry like this about anything else. You know, 250,000 people dead of COVID, rolls off his back, you know, whatever. Police brutality, But men wearing dresses, whew, best not step to the Ben. He's coming in angry.
Hey, pretending that men dressing like women is not about feminizing men is ridiculous, because they are overtly celebrating the fact that styles is feminizing masculinity.
How is Styles feminizing masculinity by wearing a dress? How does him wearing a dress affect all masculinity? Wouldn't it just be him wearing feminine clothing? What? How does that attack the entirety of masculinity? Again, libertarian conservative, except don't you dare question my arbitrary and ahistorical social roles.
So this is all a big gaslighting effect, right?
That is not what gaslighting is. Nice try. Oh yeah, and then of course we have the memes with Ben Shapiro looking like this, defending traditional masculinity, and Styles looking like this, and so on. And of course Hassan gets in on the fun. And it all comes together. And I think so the initial reaction here that I think is really, really, really tempting is to make fun of Ben Shapiro for being like short and feminine, which he is. I mean, by archetypical standards, he's like a soft-handed, poncy, violin-playing, 5'3", nasally child boy man. So none of these are like archetypically masculine characteristics. I don't really have a problem with making fun of people for stuff like that if they're being hypocritical. It's like with Jordan Peterson and his benzo addiction. Do I make fun of people for being addicted? No, substance abuse is terrible. Well, I make fun of Jordan Peterson for going on a grift for years, talking about how only people who have attained inner enlightenment can actually affect the world, because otherwise you're too fucked up to be able to make any points with regards to politics. And then it turns out he's been addicted to benzos the entire time. Well, I mean, and it brought that on himself, didn't he? There, Anyway, the immediate temptation here, I think, is to make fun of Ben Shapiro. I really just think that the more resoundingly effective response is shit like this, though. Thanks, Hassan. I appreciate it. Because, like, man, these people get way too fucking up in arms about this shit, don't they? Can you imagine being a political commentator and caring about stuff like this? Like, can you actually fathom? Like, actually imagine it for a moment, if you will. Imagine waking up one day with the doomsday clock so close to midnight, with climate change on on the precipice. Imagine COVID-19 killing 250,000 Americans. Unprecedented rejection of electoral norms, of the president refusing to concede an election he lost. And then you wake up one day and you get angry because a fashion model wore a dress.